Hello, my name is Jason Balma, and in today's session, we are going to review Traverse Global Build Update 23062. This build update includes several key enhancements. First, the addition of the mail service integration to support Open Authorization 2.0. Next, an enhancement to WMS Mobile for better logic and validation when scanning using WMS Mobile. CRM includes several new enhancements for syncing our customer ship to addresses as well as traverse quotes. And finally, this build is the official release of EDI 855 document, also known as the purchase order acknowledgement. Some important notes on this build update. There's several important additional installations that will have to happen with this build update when using open authentication for email delivery. Of course, this is going to replace SMTP basic authentication. Because this impacts email delivery, we will have to update Traverse as well as the portals, including the customer portal, sales rep portal, and PO routing and approval portal, and the alert service, as all of these functions use our email delivery. OAuth also requires an additional installation to the IIS server for mail service integration. This build update also enhances WMS Mobile. Therefore, the build does also require an update to the WMS Mobile portal. The WMS validation is going to be included in several different screens. For today, we will focus on WMS receiving as an example. So with my container required set to no, we have new validation that happens at the end of scanning, starting with bin number, lot number, expiration date of the lot, and serial number. Validation is implemented to better support mobile scanning. So let's see this in action. We're going to begin by looking at the new mail service integration and several key setup areas that have a new drop-down option in Traverse Global. Of course, to begin, we will need to install the mail service to the IIS server. After installing, we can go to the localhost mail service home and see today's date and time, indicating this is running. Also, this build will include an important PDF that will walk you through the installation of both the mail service on the IIS server as well as authentication with Microsoft Azure. To begin, we'll activate our mail service integration, selecting Microsoft, where we'll insert our tenant ID, client ID, secret, and user principal name. And then I'll grab that URL from the mail service installation. Next, we're going to head to several key places to select whether we are using Microsoft or basic SMTP sending. Keep in mind, if you are using basic SMTP sending, you don't need to complete this installation. However, it is a good idea to visit these different places and select SMTP as the current value is blank. So let's start with the business rules where we see several different uses of an email information. Starting with System Manager, we can find email settings here as the default that would be used if we weren't using SMTP setup with document delivery. So here we can see the mail type where we can select whether we're using basic SMTP or Microsoft. We'll also see this in the Traverse portal. The purchase order application with PO routing and approval. And of course, with our actual setup of document delivery with the SMTP settings, we'll see this option for mail type. So we can see here, I inserted a second record. And of course, I'm not doing basic authentication, so email and password are not needed as we're validating with a token. And I've inserted my sender's name, email address that will be validated in the setup of the mail service. Last, we'll see it in our user default. So if we are using the Traverse Global Send function, maybe we're opening up an interactive view and clicking send, it's going to use our email settings driven here, where of course now we have the addition of a mail type where we can select Microsoft or SMTP. So lots of places now included with this new mail type drop down. So let's see this in action. We'll go to System Manager and go to Document Delivery and see that our document settings for the AR statement are now using this new Microsoft service. So heading to Accounts Receivable, we'll see very similar functionality we're used to, where I go to Print Statements, trigger my print, which of course in this example queues an email where I can do the same thing as I'm typically used to, like reviewing the document, editing the email, adding an additional attachment, or of course using the send. So the user experience after the setup is complete doesn't really change, but now we're using a more secure and more modern way of authenticating our email. Next, let's take a look at purchase order and our WMS new features with receiving. Of course, this is going to be included in several of the different screens, but we'll use PO receiving as a great example to start. I do have a new order in the system. If I drill into this item, we'll see that it is serialized as well as lot controlled. So heading to WMS Mobile, I've already tested a receipt here, but we'll go ahead and delete that receipt and start again. As we begin our receiving, this item requires a serial number, a lot number, a bin number. So as we maybe leave these values blank, I can flow through the scanning and then indicate at the end using the validation sequence that a lot number is required. And I can scan through again and now be told you're missing your serial number. And of course, now I can scan and begin my next receipt because I've passed that validation. Therefore, now I've received this, and of course, I can follow my normal process for either receive and put away together or stage and then do my put away function. Of course, this will be supported in all of the screens in WMS Mobile. We're simply using the receive function to demonstrate this new validation. Next, let's take a look at our CRM integration. If we head to a particular customer, this customer has a primary address as well as a ship to address. And of course, if I drill into the open orders, they also have and let's actually add price quote into the list here. They have a price quote in my system, which will now sync to Aptean CRM after we complete, of course, our system manager sync. So let's pop into our Aptean CRM, head over to companies, and we'll search for that same company in our CRM. Of course, I've already done my sync. And if I head into the company details, we can see I have two addresses, their primary and their ship to. And if I head into their orders, I now see my price quote listed. And of course, I can drill in and see details of that price quote. There's also a few other mapping corrections here that we'll see. For example, on the AR summary, we now see the credit limit and credit remaining. Previously, those were not values displaying. So again, we continue to make mapping improvements between Traverse Global and Aptean CRM. Keep in mind the ability to create quotes in Aptean CRM is not yet available. Next, let's take a look at the addition of the purchase order acknowledgement, or the EDI 855. Notice here I have added a couple dashboards just to help me recognize data like when was my last CRM sync. I can see I did one today. Again, a very easy dashboard. And I've also got one pending 850, which of course is my incoming purchase order or an incoming sales order to my system. This is telling me I've got one pending that I have not yet processed into the sales order application. So if we head into EDI, we can see if I go to process and apply the filter, there's one pending order out there to be processed into the sales order application. So now we can decide, how do we want to acknowledge this to our trading partner? If we head to the setup and maintenance and take a look at our trading partner that we're using with this example, we can toggle to the 855. And notice here I've indicated that we can send our 855 or acknowledgement multiple times. So this might include a send and a resend with a change or a back order. We can also indicate a process lead time. This is important because I could technically process an acknowledgement on this incoming 855 before it even becomes a live sales order. So if I go to my PO acknowledgement and process PO acknowledgements here, we can apply the filter and see that I have two released. One is a live sales order and one is not. Now, if I happen to set this to say I want to give myself 3 hours to make sure all is correct before I send anything, I can come back in and now this is no longer in the grid. In fact, the other one was just imported this morning, so it is also not available to send either because it is less than 3 hours. So I can use this as adding some great logic into the system to hopefully send a correct purchase order acknowledgement the first time. This is now released, so we can use our export of PO acknowledgements to actually send the acknowledgement to our trading partner. Again, I'm currently sending one that's a live sales order and one that is not. If for whatever reason I wanted to put these on hold, I can select these and change the status to put them on hold. Or maybe I want to put just this one on hold because it's not yet a live sales order. And now we'll see released. We have a single order to be acknowledged. And of course, the process sends our PO acknowledgement, which would be delivered to our trading partner. This build update with Aptean EDI in the 855, of course, will include a couple new business rules for document location, much like the other documents we'll see. Now we have the 855 outbound. Hopefully this video was helpful in understanding a few of the key enhancements included in Traverse Global Build 23062. Thanks so much. Have a great day.